Tonight on Nova Legends podcast, I have my esteemed panel of basketball coaches. We're in the postseason now, and these four here, and we may have one or two join us a little bit late, but they have an incredible record in postseason, and really excited about picking the brains about what's going to happen this week. This week is regionals, so this is go hard or go home. So guys, thanks for doing this.
Appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah,
always a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, well, great guys. Well, let me reintroduce you guys. I mean, some of you guys I talk to more online than I talk to my own mother. So they everyone knows who you are. I got from Hayfield. I got Carlos Poindexter, back-to-back state titles. Recently won another national title with no returning starters. So I'm sure Coach had a lot of fun, and it was definitely an achievement, and maybe just as big as win the state title is to win a district with no returning stars. Congratulations, Coach. Coach Sherman Rivers, again, if you coach a Patriot, I guess you have to win the Cedar Run district. Coach Rivers did it once again, despite the fact that he had lots of expectations on his back. Was able to put together another winning campaign and is in a good position. He's had a really tough schedule, and so his team has seen a lot of different scenarios going forward. So, Coach, welcome. Thanks for doing this again.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. I got Coach Houston. Coach Houston, he makes a habit of from West Potomac of win the district championship out of nowhere. This year, very well-regarded West Potomac team. Didn't win the district title, but still alive. Had a nice, huge win in the first round of regionals in the Occoquan region the other day. Coach has got a great team, and a big showdown Tuesday night against Edison, which we're all excited about. Coach Houston, thanks again for doing this.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And Coach Craig. Now, Coach, the Patriot is just incredibly tough district. I think any of five teams had an argument that they could win the district. You guys were from start to finish. You guys were in the top two or three. Had a great season. Played a tough out of district schedule. And again, still alive. Didn't win the title, but still alive going into this week. Coach, good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, look, this is it's funny. It seems like the season has been going a long time. We've been going since November, but it goes by fast somehow. Here we are, and now the games are really going to matter. You guys have a lot of postseason experience, and you're probably coaching all year for this week, but. Are you guys very different coaches this week? Do you try when you're putting your team on the field, on the court? Are you trying to be the same coach you've been all year, or is this week different? We all know it's different. The crowds are going to be bigger, but in some of the seniors, this is the last competitive basketball they'll ever play, so it means a lot. So anyway, are you the same coach this week as you've been all year long? Who wants to jump in here?
You made a statement. You coach all year, you get prepared all year for this week. That's actually a really good statement. Because you put a lot of time in, and it comes down to a couple of days. I think it sometimes depends over a lot of years of having playoff experience. Like, I think sometimes it depends on the different teams you have. How you're playing at that time with that group can sometimes dictate how you coach. I don't think trying to change who you are, and I think it's like having as a teacher when sometimes you have students and then somebody comes in and evaluates you and you turn into a whole different person because you're being evaluated. Like
the students are like, "What the heck's going? What's up with Mr. Houston today?"
Right. So I mean, if things are working smooth, as you go into the playoffs, I think sometimes you just ride that out, and then sometimes you have to rein it in if you realize you're going to shorten your bench or. Something like that. So, I mean, it's different for probably everybody. I'd like to hear what everybody else thought.
Yeah. About one jump in here? Coach Carlos or Sherman?
I can. I'm not different. I'm the same. Only thing that might be different is at this time of year, we might only practice about 45 minutes to an hour. So, I really think it's important for the kids to see that you are not being a different person because of the pressure of the circumstances. So, because you don't want them to go into games and all of a sudden they obviously know that the pressure of the moment is, you lose, the season's over, but at the same time, you don't want them playing scared to make plays and scared of the moment. So I don't want to be different during practice. We're the same level of intensity that we are in November at this point in the year if we got to be, but for the most part, things are running how they're supposed to run. So
Yeah.
I mean, I say two things. Just the attention to detail to scout is probably a little bit more intense. I think that's like one of the biggest things for us. And then secondly is like we've been on. I told our kids we've been on do or die since the Patriot game. So I told our guys if we lose again, we're done. So that's kind of the type of mentality that I've been trying to bring to our players. So that's just what it's been.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach. Coach Craig?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it depends a little bit on the kind of kids you have. I think sometimes if you have an experienced team who's been there before, you could be a little bit more laid back because they understand the gravity of these games. I think when you have kind of a younger team that's going through it the first time, I think sometimes it's good for them to see the coach, maybe a little bit more dialed in to the scout and things like that than you might be during the regular season, just so they understand, how important these games are. I think, you kind of have to have a feel for your team and what they kind of need from you. Some years I've been, really energetic and passionate during the playoff time. Some years I'm almost like I don't want to say much because I feel like that's a group that can't really handle any extra intensity. So I think sometimes it kind of depends on your team, but like I don't think your DNA changes all that much of what kind of a group you have. I think you kind of get a good read for that throughout the season.
Yeah. Well, it's when I think about my son's last soccer season in the postseason, he knew it was the last serious soccer he would ever play. And I remember being so proud of him, the way he handled all those knockout games. I mean, he was all over the field, but he was cool, he was calm. And I couldn't have been all the travel games and all the money I had paid, the practice sessions he'd put in. I knew it was all worth it, just the way he handled himself. This week, guys, and I know we don't want to be negative, but when careers are over, and then you guys have all had these speeches with your teams after they've gone out on knockout. And so you guys know what to expect, and you guys know how the kids are going to feel. Do you guys, the speech you have to give to kids, is that something that's difficult when careers are over and you have to talk to kids about the last game? The time for discipline is over. I mean, your juniors and sophomores, sure, but your seniors, this is it for them. And no matter how good they are, they may never play another really meaningful game. Do you think about what you're going to say to your seniors?
You just made this the most somber podcast of all. Now, I think the two worst days for me as a coach are cut day and the last game. And I haven't been involved as Coach Craig and Coach Poindexter have been involved with the last game being a win. But like, no matter what you think you might want to say, you don't really know how the kids are going to react. Like you really don't. You don't even know how you're going to react. And of course, the way the game might end or the way, something might go could certainly dictate, maybe your best guy didn't have a good game, right, in the last game. Or, maybe just, you do something just out of anomaly the last game. I think it's a challenge that there's no real books for that. I don't care how long you've really been coaching, there's no real books for that. But I think when you get the kids prepared, if you're a good group, with your guys and, or girls, and you get your kids prepared and they understand the situation and they understand, like Coach Poindexter said, the details of the stuff that happens. And often, you don't have to say anything. You know, it reverts back to, you know, maybe we didn't do this or that. But that's also the day that no matter what you say, it doesn't matter. Like it matters, of course, but they don't hear. They understand that's it. They're taking the stuff off for the last time. So yeah, we work really hard so that we don't have to have that speech. But you know, it happens.
Yeah. Anyone else want to jump in on the somber topic?
I mean, you know, it's one of those things that I don't think I've ever thought about what I'm going to say, because it's like you said, like Doug and obviously Los have had the, you know, are fortunate enough to be able to win their last game, but you know, the emotions become kind of overwhelming in those moments when it's at the end, and especially when you're on a run and you're not expecting it to be over with. So it's just things kind of come out. I know there's been a few times where I've had to step out the room because I couldn't hold myself together because you put so much into it, and you get so invested in, you know, these kids. You've been around them for such a long time, and for the seniors, for that to be some of their last games, last time that they're gonna put that uniform off you, it can be pretty emotional. So, you know, you hope you get to win your last game, but it doesn't happen for everybody.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Coach
No,
Craig.
I
Coach
mean,
Craig?
I mean, same thing. I don't never think about losing, so I don't have anything prepared for those type of moments. I just go off the whim of how I feel at the time, and most of the time, like we always have extra interviews, so like that's when I really do the most of my talking. And you know, I'll probably say a few words at the game, and then you know we'll always ride the bus back, with each other, and then you know we do a little bit of talking there. And then, but usually within the next week or two, you know, we have our extra interviews, and then I do most of my talking then, and have like real life conversations with our seniors, and then what needs to be done for our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors.
You have extra interviews for seniors also, Coach?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's a great idea. That way the emotions are kind of in check, and you can have a rational conversation. Coach Craig, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily. I don't usually have anything planned. It kind of comes to me in the moment when I'm standing in front of the guys. I think the hardest thing for me as a coach is just with your seniors particularly is, you know, those kids are such a part of your life. Maybe some of them for 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 years for some of them, and you see them every day. I mean, I know Coach Rivers, Coach House, and myself are in the building with the kids. You know, as teachers, we see them in the hallways, we see them in the lunchrooms. You know, we see them at off-season workouts, we see them at fall league, summer league games. You spend a lot of time; they become almost like your own children. I mean, you spend so much time with them. The hardest thing is just knowing that um, after that game ends and that last loss, if it happens, or even the last win, it's still kind of emotional even after you win the last game. Is that it's never going to quite be the same. You're never going to see them as much and spend as much time as with them as you do, you know, now. So it's an emotional day. I think for me, it's almost like a feeling of loss, not because of the game, but the fact that that relationship is forever going to change between you and the kids. And it's exciting. It's great when they come back and they go off to do great things with their lives. And you know, hopefully, if you have a good relationship with those kids, they come back. We've been fortunate at Woodson that kids come back a lot and spend time with us. But it's not the same as seeing them every day, you know, all day long at school and at workouts. It's just, it alters things. You know, if you've ever lost a family member who's kind of gone out of your life, you kind of know it's kind of a similar feeling for me. So obviously, you know, it'll be emotional when it does happen, or if it does happen, or even if you win the last game, it's still, I remember after winning the state title, telling our kids that the only sad thing about that moment was the fact that we wouldn't get to be together as a team anymore after that game. So, you know, it's just different. Everything's just a little bit different afterwards, but it's also part of, you know, coaching with high school kids, you know, and you get them for 4 years and then you get to spend a lot of time with them and hopefully you have a good impact.
Yeah, you know, one thing that happened with me with my coach, Coach Bob McKay, who's UVA guy. You know, I lost the coach after my last game, but you know, moments after we became lifelong friends. It was great how our relationship changed, and we're still, you know, today we're still friends. As he ever get a chance to listen to my interview with him, I mean, you know, we went from all those struggles we had together to just being, you know, the closest of friends, and it was easier to be friends. I was a sixth man, and you know, most of the time I played a lot, but you know, you always want to play more, and but it was easier to be friends when that was no longer a problem. I coached the summer league teams, and our relationship grew over the years, and with my teammates as well. I didn't see them as much, but the ones that you're really close with, you're going to make time to see again. Well, guys, one thing I want to talk about is the Darryl Overton situation before we get to some of the surprises and the players and the teams for this week. Now, when Coach Overton this week announced that he was going to Hayfield, it was a real head scratcher. I mean, I had gotten a word that he'd interviewed and people knew about it, because when a guy like Coach Overton interviews somewhere, people are going to find out about it. But here's a guy who's won 2 state titles at a school. He's got a junior coming back who's one of the top running backs in the country. Whole bunch of Division I players coming back, and he moved to Hayfield. And you guys, you don't coach because you're making tons of money at it. Your reward comes in many other ways. And so, it was one of those situations where it just seemed unbelievable that a guy would leave and go to a school. Hayfield's a great school, and I know he's going to do amazing things there. But, it was soon evident that he wasn't given the support in the building that he needed just to stay. You can argue whether or not they should have support or not, but I thought he seemed like he did a lot for the school. But I'm not involved. As coaches who've had an amazing amount of success, as you guys had, and won games and elevated kids to great things, what were your reactions to that move? It had to affect guys like you as well, because you guys have had all the successes you want. I mean, obviously you want to win state titles as well. But you guys have done so well and where you are. Did that move surprise you? And what were your reactions to the move with Coach Overton? Coach Carlos, since you're in the building, you want to go first?
I guess I'll go
Coach
first.
Sherman. Okay, yeah.
Everybody looking like what's Sherman gonna say? Listen, I've already had a post about this, obviously, on social media. I think it's unfortunate that it got to the point, that Coach Overton had to leave. I don't want to sit here and pretend to know exactly what he's gone through. I know that he talks about not being some narrative, and it was his choice. But one thing that we all know as coaches, if you feel appreciated in a situation where things are going well, you most likely aren't going to go. And so I just don't think that he was appreciated for the things that he was doing, not only from a football standpoint, but for those young men and for that community. Now you got to think about the fact that I know people have the things that they got to say about freedom, and some of them are true and some of them aren't. A lot of people pretend to know. But one thing that was for sure is that those young men that played in his program were at school every day, and they were excellent students, because all these guys that he got opportunities to go to school for free, and you never heard anybody talking about, well, he doesn't have grades to do this and grades to do that. So, you add into stuff he does in the community as far as like giving out the turkeys and everything else like that. And, that is one situation. I got a few others that rubbed me the wrong way. We got Tamika Dudley, who's over at Sidwell Friend, doing an excellent job. And I can guarantee you, if she felt differently about how she was appreciated at Woodbridge High School, she would not be at Sidwell Friends. You got Coach Wortham, who's at Bishop Ireton right now. Used to be at Woodbridge High School. Same thing. This man was putting kids in school, taking kids on trips to go places on his dime. And for whatever reason, people were upset about whatever they wanted to be upset about. And this can go all the way back to Coach Will Robinson, one of the greatest coaches ever in Northern Virginia. And that man had to leave Prince William County, not only leave Prince William County, but he had to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, just to be a head coach again. And some of these things just rub me the wrong way. I don't like it, because I see what they are to, not only from a winning and basketball standpoint, but what they mean to those young men that they had a high level of influence on as their mentors or role models for them. So yeah, that's how I feel about him. I'm happy for Darryl. I'm glad he's going to Hayfield. I'm sure they're very excited for him. You could hear in his interview that there's a level of excitement just him walking through the building. none of the weird things that people might have been doing to him over at the other spot. So
Yeah. Yeah.
they had to pay for their own bus to go to state championship game. It's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Insane. Okay.
You gotta
That's
do a
all.
raffle. You gotta do a raffle to go to the state tournament. I mean, that's
Right.
That's rough. Coach Carlos, you got called out. You wanna jump in here?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, like, I called him about like my AD Monty Fritz. He was like, he asked me if I knew him. I was like, yeah. So I reached out to him and just basically just asked him, like, would he be interested in applying for the job? And I was surprised. He was like, yeah, just shoot me Fritz's number. So I did that, and then pretty much, he came in, had a great interview. I was on the panel. He did an excellent job. Like, he made me want to shoot up the way how passionately he talked about the game. It was really great. Like, he had like a really great interview. And then you go from there, and then, like, now I'm just like, at this point, I just hope that there's some basketball football guys that's along with that. If that happens, great. If not, then whatever. But it's great for the Hayfield community. I already know how great of a coach he is, but he's going to help a lot of these kids that probably didn't get opportunities to play in college. He's going to help these guys get to college. So, when there's a lot, dealing with football and basketball, there's a lot of players who look like me, and for the fact that he's able to cultivate the type of respect that he's been able to have over these years, and to have these top Power 5 Division I coaches come see his kids play is great, and it's going to be great for our community.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's just great for Hayfield, but it's also great for Northern Virginia, Fairfax County football. And for Prince William to let him get away and come out here, it's just enormous.
Hey, I know South County ain't happy.
Yeah.
I will say that South County ain't happy at all.
The whole district is not going to be. Whole district,
Our district is our district, but South County been running our side of the town, and South County ain't happy.
Yeah, Coach Jerry.
What's Pagnoni?
I'm sorry, Coach.
No, I was just the head coach at South County. He ain't gonna be happy.
Coach Peroni. Coach Houston, you want to jump in here?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I obviously, I remember being a little critical over that 116-point game a couple podcasts back, but there's no question on his ability to run a successful program by pretty much any metric you can put up there, wins and losses, getting kids into college. You haven't heard of a whole lot of disciplinary stuff out of that program. By all accounts, he's an excellent high school football coach and does a good job. I don't see why anybody at the Hayfield community wouldn't be excited about that. In terms of all the other stuff, I don't know. It's hard to be on the outside and speak to what goes on the inside of his program. I know I've said for years that I think education in a lot of ways has gotten backwards. I think that, we can all agree that the most important people in any school building are the kids. And the most important staff members are the ones who work directly with the kids, which are your teachers and your coaches. Everyone else's job in the building, from the janitors, the custodians, to the administrative assistants, to the principals, the assistant principals, everybody else's job should be to support the staff members that are working directly with the kids. I just think right now in education, it's gotten backwards, where a lot of times that the people that are working directly with the kids are thought of as trying to support the people at the top and make them look good. And I think if you have the buy-in and everybody supports the people working directly with the kids, they will make the higher ups look good, because you'll have a successful building with people involved. In order to raise kids today, you need people that are involved, that want to give their time. There's not lots and lots of money in education. You don't do it for the money. The people who get involved are people who generally want good things for kids and want to be impactful. And I think that, we need to do a better job just in education in general, understanding the way the pecking order should be, and who should work and who help the kids the most, and support those people. And if he wasn't feeling those support at Freedom Woodbridge, like I said, I don't know. I don't know Coach Overton. I don't know anything about that situation personally. I can just tell you that's not a good situation, and that's really not the way it should be.
Yeah, I hate to follow him at that job. Coach
Yeah, I
Houston,
mean, these guys said it. I mean, I don't know him and don't know that situation as well. But I think it's sad. I was sad when I saw it. Not sad that he's going to a new school or sad anything like that, but just sad that, those of us that teach, sometimes we lose really good teachers because they don't feel supported and they get out of the profession completely. I'm a special educator. I know, how important it is to be close with the students, and people that don't do that have no clue, the stuff that we're doing. As a coach, I don't coach football. We coach what we do, and we spend an enormous amount of time, like you just said earlier, like we spend all this time all year to get ready for this week. And for somebody to not feel supported, to make a move like that, clearly, he had a good team. Obviously, I saw you guys coming back. Without knowing anything, I know something was going. That's not right. That's something. And he certainly said in an interview, a while ago about being, tolerated, and and I mean that was, that spoke volumes, I thought. So I think it's sad. I don't know what the situation, but I know like this year, I think I've seen some parent situations happen in some games that were ridiculous, that were outrageous. I still think that we still have, residuals from the COVID situation, parents that didn't have any supervision while they were just allowed to walk in the gyms and scream and yell, and come out of the stands, and say things to coaches. And we as coaches, we're powerless in the sense of we can't say, you can't, I mean, we already know what happened, a couple of years ago in Alexandria City. Like, you can't go and say anything. So I think administrators certainly need to do a better, need to do a better job of making sure, like, as coaches, our personal, mindset is okay. Like, you need to feel like you can walk around and feel supported by everybody you have. And hopefully that isn't why he left, but it seems like it probably is. And I think a lot of us know a lot of the coaches that are going through similar things. You're having success, yet people still chirping, and then, you don't feel the support that you think you need. And when you put all this time in and the pennies that we make, like 25, I think my staff did it like 17 cents an hour or something like that. All that time, we're certainly not doing it for that. We're doing it for, the passion of working with these kids and seeing these kids become young adults and et cetera. So I think Sherman said it right. Like they lose a big part of their community. Clearly, I think he was there for 9 or 10 years. Like that's a big part of, like, some kids, he's all they know with regard to football and, in that county. So good luck to him, going forward. He's not in our district, so, I'm not worried. But good luck to him and good luck to the new team he's going to.
Yeah.
And the other part is too, like I said, I don't know exactly as far as like the sport in the building. I know the amount of times that they were investigated by people when it became unfounded and nothing was there. And it's like the constant having to defend yourself when you are just really good at your job. And, Tamika Dudley spoke on this on one of the Facebook posts, talking about, she said, when people get good, instead of people celebrating it and all the work you put into it, they want to find reasons why you did. And it's got to be, oh, you got to be cheating. You got to be bringing this person in. And it goes over and over and over again. And like his became like next level, where it became like, I'm always being investigated for something. And instead of being like, let's celebrate this person for what they have done and what they are doing. And not only, like I said, from a winning standpoint, but from what they're doing for the kids. It's like, well, they got to be doing something wrong. And it just like, I was super defensive of him anytime someone would say anything, even on this podcast when we talked about that, because I just see a person doing things the right way as far as how he's preparing and working and getting those kids to buy into what they're doing and selling out for that. And to take away from it just because you're not as good as me, that I don't think that's fair. And people always want to tear you down when all of a sudden you built something up that becomes pretty special.
Yeah. Well, it's well said, all you guys. It's interesting because I had a pretty high profile spat with Coach Overton about running up the score. I just couldn't believe it. I wasn't even a football fan until Coach Overton and Freedom. I said, what the heck is going on down there? So I started following football, high school football. And then Coach Carlos encouraged me to, get him on your podcast. And, one thing about Coach Overton, the more you know about him, the more you're impressed with him. If you just try to, read the final score or some of the things, you're getting the wrong impression. The more you know about him and the program, the more you're going to be impressed. And I can't tell you, I like being wrong. I like being proven wrong because the guy just does a great job to win at Freedom. This is the eastern part of Prince William County. It's a majority minority population that doesn't really embrace football. Great athletes and all that. I'm not trying to knock the kids, but it's not really a football type of demographic. He works with those kids. He makes them into great players. As you guys said, he gets them into college. He makes them work in school. I mean, if you can't get on board with that, it's really sad. But
he said
again,
he got 50 scholarship athletes since he's been the coach there.
I mean,
50.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, he's
right.
got 10 more probably juniors this year.
And then I mean, then let's not even talk about the fact that he just won the district championship with the girls basketball team that had never any girls sport in that school had ever won any sort of championship.
Yeah, I mean it's just a great story, and it's
just sad for Prince William County. That's all. It's
sad for Prince William County. It's great for Fairfax County football, and it's going to because when a guy like that comes, there's other teams up here who are going to want to knock him down. So it's going to be fun to see what he can do. And I'm sure it's he's going to do well. So guys, before we get to the basketball, and I promise we will, we've had some high profile parent issues in the last month or so. We've talked about them offline, but parents are really interesting these days, and maybe they've always been interesting. I know Coach House is going to say, Julian, parents have always been like this. But we've seen people quit in the most public of ways. I've had conversations with parents with their kids are going to quit because they're not playing enough. Are these just things that have always happened that have just coming to the forefront now, or are parents even getting more intense, even more involved in your guys' lives? In the lives of football, in the lives of sports.
I think Cat Williams got everybody open right now, man. Everybody wants to say something publicly all of a sudden. It's been crazy. To me, it's been crazy. But I mean, with my situation, I never really had to deal with parent issues for the most part. I've had maybe 2 or 3 incidents throughout my career. This year I had a few, and it's been unfortunate. I felt like I've done everything possible to try to coach all these kids up. I've been upfront as much as I could be with parents about their specific kid's situation. And unfortunately, people still wanting to say negative things about me publicly for whatever reason versus having a conversation with me. I feel like that's not the way to go, but it just is what it is. And if people want to choose to vent on social media to get reactions, it is what it is. But I'd rather try to have a conversation face to face so that we can nip it in the bud, or we can agree to disagree. But I've always been upfront about my teams and what I expect from my program, and that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. You must jump in about
I think
parents.
the platform and the opportunity for parents to speak has changed. And like you said, I don't necessarily think it's changed that much. You still have parents that criticize their teacher, the kid's teacher, right? And the parents have no training in being a teacher, but they're criticizing the kid's teacher. That happens all the time. So they're going to continue to criticize the coaches. They're just having social media outlet platform to do it. I think back in the day it was probably just the phone tree people that they would talk to, and now there's a way that they can now blast it out and make themselves feel. I just, more than that, like public stuff, I just think the public display in the gym has turned more AAU style. Where like you see that in AAU, you go to an AAU tournament and you expect to see 2 or 3 people around the court after the game. It happens a lot. Sometimes, the refereeing isn't great and whatever. But that stuff, if you go to a tournament, you're not shocked if you see some type of, but I think in our high school game, it has been a little bit more, you don't see that in college, right? Our high school game is supposed to be more mirrored to that and more professional in the sense of that. And I go back to the the COVID and not the year and 2 years of some parents not having anybody and administrators not having experience of saying this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. And I think, having access to thinking they have the unlimited access to the coach, I think I don't think that's really acceptable. But it is, Coach Poindexter was saying that, and he's got issues, and they certainly have had a solid run and are doing well now. And it sounds like some people that if you're 500, you're probably getting text messages right after. I get text messages from parents I've gotten before that's like 8 paragraphs in a text message. That's with a complaint after a game. So I think what he said earlier is right. I think that I wish parents would do a better job, which all of us coaches ask them to do at the beginning of the season. If you have an issue, let's have a conversation, not right after the game, right? Let's wait till the next day. Let's have a conversation about it. If we don't like it from there, then you go to the athletic director. And then if you don't like it from there, you move on up as opposed to just jumping over stuff. But social media gives everybody a chance to jump over all that and just say what they want.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach. Anyone else want to jump in here? Coach Sherman, Coach Craig?
Doug, I was going to let you go, but if you don't want to, man, it's all good. I mean, I've always said this, and I'm different from y'all, man. I don't play that we're going to talk about anything. I just don't. That's the first thing I say in my pyramid is that, listen, I will talk to you about school. I will talk to you about their behavior in school. But anytime you want to have a basketball conversation with me, especially about your kid, I will pretend like you no longer exist. And I have no problem with that because there's never anything good that comes from those conversations in my mind. Like, they're going to make their complaint. You're not going to agree because you actually have some sense about the situation. There's nothing that you say is going to make them feel better about the decision that you made. Then you're like, what are you going to change what you've been doing because they complained to you? So I don't like even them saying, we'll talk about it later. If they want to go blast something on social media, I mean, listen, you can't control that. It's insane. I don't know why they do it. I don't know what they feel like they're going to get out of it. Most of the time they end up embarrassing their kid because their kid don't even feel the same way that they do. So it's all of it is just a level of insanity that I think is really stemmed from that these parents invest so much time and money into kids that they didn't necessarily do back in the day. And not saying that they didn't invest like time, but like the trainers and all of these different things that these kids do, because we're in an era now where these kids are the most skilled that they've probably ever been, but they are the lowest IQ that I've ever seen as far as like their basketball sense, because they're just used to somebody rebounding for them all the time. Let's use an example. I don't know about y'all, but for some reason, kids don't read the ball of the rim very well anymore. Like, just being able to have an idea. I mean, the only person I can think of is David King. But y'all can tell me somebody else that was just like this excellent, knowing where the ball is going to go. And I think they're just so used to being in the gym where somebody rebounds for them all the time. They don't have to worry about shooting a bad miss and having to chase the ball down the hill. So it just like the amount of things that stem from the amount of money that they're putting into it. And then if they put the money into this and it doesn't work, well, it's not the kid's fault or my fault. It's the person who I was giving my money to. So let me find somebody else to give my money to. Or it's not your fault that you didn't make this AAU team. It's the person's fault who's picking the team. So let's make our own AAU program. There's no accountability in anything. So when you don't have accountability, you're always ready to argue about something that doesn't make any sense. Because at no point in time did you look at yourself and like, how did I contribute to this situation? Because if you did that, you would have more sense about how you went about voicing your opinion about what you think should be happening. Yep. That's what I think.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Coach. Coach Craig, you want to jump in here?
Well, I think that the kids can't judge balls off the rim anymore because the kids don't play multiple sports and they don't play enough baseball growing up, so they can't judge trajectory and the flight of the ball and they can't play where it's going to happen because they spend hours and hours and hours locked into the gym dribbling through cones, and they don't go out and play multiple sports, which teach you about spatial awareness and how to use your body in different ways. But that's a whole nother discussion for another podcast. I think, listen, I remember mentioning this back a couple of podcasts we had ago. I just think there's just a general lack of civility right now, in general, just amongst everything. I think People think social media gives them the right to say whatever they want all the time. And they take that, they come into the gym, they say whatever they want. But there's very little consequences for anybody anymore. And as educators, as teachers, we get it in the classroom. I mean, there is no other profession in the world. You wouldn't walk into a doctor's office while they were conducting surgery and walk up to the doctor and say, I don't think you're holding the scalpel right. You should try it this way. But they got no problem walking up to a teacher and a coach, even one that's been doing it for 20 years. And like, did you ever really think about doing it this way? Like, it's just that lack of civility. It's just the lack of understanding that this is a profession. And, just because you've played a basketball or you sat in a classroom doesn't make you an expert on coaching or teaching. And not to say that I'm an expert on coaching and teaching, because I learn every day, all the time. But I just think there's a lack of civility and accountability anymore. And it's not just in education. It's in all. If you see it, social media, people they can say whatever they want. And there's really no consequence to it. So, people, they just talk recklessly, and they don't understand sometimes that there's real people and on the other end of that have to deal with those things that are said and how things are. But with that being said, I still think, 95% of the parents are wonderful to deal with. They're great. They're supportive. I mean, a lot of my parents, like they do well and beyond for our program, what I would ever expect. And so I think sometimes we spend a lot of time focusing on the 4 or 5% of the people that, you're probably never going to make them happy anyway. So, it's probably best not to give them a lot of thought and attention, and probably try to brush it off. Although I'm sure everybody who's gotten that kind of criticism has had moments where they get caught up in it. And that's just, because we're people and we're human beings, and, we have emotions too after games and after things go. So that's all I really have to say about it. I don't see it getting any better. It seems like it's kind of trending the other way.
Guys, I was at a game a few weeks ago. I'm not going to tell people what game it was, but I was talking to a parent, and he just thought his kid was a really good player. And he's talking about, Division I, and maybe go to IMG for a year and do this. And the kid was he was a pretty good player. He was okay. And I was just like, this kid's prospects for playing basketball at the next level are so remote. I mean, even if he can somehow get on a roster of Division III somehow, he would be lucky to ever start for a Division III team. And he's a pretty good basketball player. And when I was listening to him talk, good guy, I was just like, this is what these coaches deal with all the time. And I was just like, this guy his son is a pretty good player, but he has got no chance of playing. And I remember I brought up something. I said, well, Margot Closer-Sherman, I forgot I can never pronounce his last name. He's one of my favorite players. I thought he was tremendous. I just thought he was a great player. He was a competitor. He was smart. Played hard. Good athlete. Worked hard. And had a good freshman year and ran off making off the bench. He was one of the players of the year for 2 years in a row. So when parents see a guy like Margot, who's 6'5", can dunk, can do it all, and he's in and out of Randolph Macon's lineup, a good team, it's got to tell you that it's tough at the next level. I don't think parents understand that. I don't think people understand.
They absolutely don't. They
So
don't.
Julian, no parent. I don't think
that?
parents. I know parents don't go to a college practice. So that's what I mean. If anybody ever listening, well, not ever. People listen to this a lot, and they listen to you a lot, and hopefully they hear part of it, because this is really important. I'm glad you brought this up. At a college practice, the kid that doesn't play is probably better than everybody like, and especially talking with Division I. I just think that parents are just so limited with the idea of, and I'm saying parents, and I'm not being hypocritical. I'm a parent of a kid who plays in a different gender of our same sport. So right now, so like I'm the only one of us, I guess, who has a kid old enough who's on another night, like Doug's kids in program, but not in his own program. So like I don't go up to the coach after the game, and if I didn't think something happened right, that my daughter, I'm trying to act the same way that I would want the parents to act. But also at the same time, we're going to different college games and checking out a college practice and having my child see is this is something that we can actually attain? And the amount of just pretty good players whose parents think they're Division I it's the most outrageous that I mean, that has certainly changed over the years, from the beginning of coaching till now. The amount of parents that actually believe their kids are Division I, not even like we're talking like maybe you're not even going to get on a Division III team. You know, you might not even make the team, but they're saying Division I. I had a conversation with a parent that they wanted their kid to be D1. I said, "Have you been contacted by the D3 schools yet?" They're like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, that's how that works, right? Like the D3 schools in your state are not going to let a D1 guy get out of there without having contacted them first. Those recruiting coaches are getting fired. So it's not Doug's right. It's not getting better, which
I really feel like it stems from the amount of money that they've been shelling out.
Yeah.
And the trainer's saying that we can get this person to this level and this, and whoever these AAU guys that want these, you know, kids to come be in their program, say, we can get you this, we can get you recruited. Like like I said, it's so many kids playing AAU that are just not good. And I just remember AAU being something like where people played it that were like the best people in your area, not because they were able to pay the gym fees. Like that's the part and so now like you got all this money put into that and people telling you like, yeah, this, and because they want you to keep paying the money. So then it comes to a point where it's like, you've heard it so much, like my kid's got to be this because they were playing in this bracket and this weekend at this tournament. And it's like you were playing at the high school down the street from you in something they called the gold bracket. So you would pay an exorbitant amount of money for a tournament you probably shouldn't even bother going to. So,
Yeah. And Coach Carlos, you have two players from last year who probably were two of the best players in the area for the last 3 years. DJ Holloway and David King. They're going to have really good college careers, but they're paying their dues. They're not just walking in there and, hey guys, we're here. Give me the ball. I'll get you 20 points, 10 rebounds. They're having to work and pay their dues at the next level.
Nah, for sure. You talk about like David King, who was all Met, you know, first team all Met, and right now he's probably playing 10 minutes a game, 12 minutes a game at the Division III level. So, you know, those things happen, man. And he just like I told all my guys, they basically starting over again. And no matter what they did in high school, they got to reinvent themselves in college. And you know, most of them. And to these kids' credit, all the kids that we have in college right now, they're all doing a great job for their programs and helping those guys, helping their teams in any way facet that they are. Like they're playing a role on their particular team, which I love.
I think all of us do a really good job of our kids, like especially those of us that have kids go to D3. I think our kids do a really good job on their team. I got a kid who's at Hood, and this team's doing really well. They're one of the most ever. I got my point guards out in Indiana that's really doing well. I think most of us do that. I think these parents that believe that there's so many Division I people that are just hanging out there is like, I mean. I don't know. I don't know where they're getting these ideas.
I got a bone to pick with Coach House, and my 13-year-old son was sitting here when he was talking about there's no D1 players. He's now there's crying, dunking on his mini hoop. I'll be hearing him in a few minutes. I listen. I don't. They just don't understand. They don't understand how good the level is above. And I think the most overused phrase in sports that I am so tired of hearing, and I want to jump out of my skin every time somebody posts it online about a kid or says it out loud, is he's a pro. No, he's not. He's not a pro. We're lucky if maybe 3 kids that are playing right now in high school, maybe 3, maybe 4 kids in the whole DMV will play professional. Like, I mean, at the highest level in the NBA. I mean, maybe there's 10 to 15 kids that'll play overseas.
Yeah.
Like, and this is an area of what, 6 million people? I mean, the basketball is so good in this area, and still so few of them are ever going to be a pro. Stop worrying about he's a pro producing pros, and try to produce kids that are good people and have good work ethics. So no matter what they choose to do beyond high school basketball, they can be successful because work ethic and discipline applies to any walk of life. It doesn't just apply to on the basketball court. Yes, it helps on the basketball court. It sure does. but they can take those skills and learn with them. And if they end up being good enough to be someone like Coach Rivers, who did play professionally, they can be one of the few. But we don't prepare kids to play professionally. We're trying to prepare them to be better people and better teammates. And if they're good enough, that'll take care of itself. Stop telling every kid he's a pro, because for 98% of them, they're not going to be pros. And we need to stop filling their heads with that crap when they're in 6th grade. I was at my son's 7th grade basketball game, and I was hearing the parents talk about this one kid in 7th grade, and he's a very good 7th grader. He's also shaving already. So he's physically a little bit ahead of some of the other kids.
Yeah.
So, I'm not so sure he's going to be what they think he's going to be. But I don't say nothing. I just sit up there and smile and try to watch the game. But, this whole mentality, and in basketball, it's very much about control. I think with a lot of people involved in the sport, the AU coaches, the high school coaches, the trainers, they want control of those best kids because they think they're going to make a buck off them if they make it. And they're really doing a disservice to all these kids who are really not that level of player. Let's be honest, in basketball, if you don't fit a certain physical profile, it's gonna be really hard. There's a lot of really good high school players that just physically are not big enough, strong enough, fast enough to play at a higher level. They're just not. And that doesn't mean that they're not successful being good high school players and going on and becoming, doctors and lawyers and teachers and whatever they might want to do. So I think we need to stop with that mentality. And the very elite of the elite ones, those kids are different than the average kids, and the parents need to understand that.
Yeah. I would tell you some of the kids who did not make pro that are from here. Coach Sherman played with two of the best guards I've ever seen play here. Mookie Felder and Cliff Hawkins. I played against Tommy Amaker when he was at Woodson. Scotty Reynolds at Herndon had an incredible career at Villanova. Overseas, having a great career. But to make the NBA it's just something very special. And if you're shorter than 6'8" and 6'10", probably, it's always going to be an uphill battle. And they don't even put a premium on tall guys anymore. I mean, you have to be the whole package, because pro NBA players are not just from America anymore. They truly are the best players in the world. And so I remember when my son, when his soccer career was over, he was a great player. He was a starting midfielder on a state finalist team and won a region, played almost every minute. But he knew it was over. And I was so proud of him for knowing it was over. He knew he'd never play another meaningful game. And I just wonder, and I think Coach Sherman's onto something here. If you're putting all this money into these kids, you want a payoff. You didn't put all this money into these kids to watch them play intramurals like my son's playing. It's got to be more than that. So so I get a sense when I'm in the stands, I do get a little bit of a sense of what you guys are going through with the parents and the expectations. But any more on that, guys? I want to move on to the teams for this week.
I just want to say one thing. I heard that Scotty Reynolds was the first All-American to not make the NBA. Is that true?
No,
I heard
first team All AP. The first team All AP to not make the NBA.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's first team All American that didn't get drafted or make it. I can't remember what it was. Something like that.
Yo, that's a crazy stat.
Yeah.
He averaged 27 points per game as a senior. 27 points per game, and I think the next guy on his team averaged like 10. He was unbelievable in high school, some of the shot making that he could do, and he couldn't make the NBA. As good as he was.
Well, he did the same things at Villanova. He made some ridiculous
Crazy
plays at Villanova, not just in high school. He did that at the highest level in the Big East tournament and whatever. But I mean, you said it, Julian, he's 6'1", right? People, I think they may have listed at 6'2", but he's certainly really, 6'1", but really, 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 really good, 6'1". And yeah, they're looking for the 6'6" guy. They're looking for the 6'8" guy that can do the exact same thing. They're looking for the 6'9" guy that can do the exact same thing. Well, I got to go back to something before we move on. Sure. Kids don't randomly, I think they don't track the offensive boards because they don't play pickup with random people they don't know. And the only way sometimes to get a bucket is to get a board. If you show up to the gym, to the court, outdoor court that's got the double rim, and you're certain the dude's not making the jumper, and you figure out how to get there. And the kids do not go to random courts and play on double rims. And I hate it. We have an outdoor court at our school that we just got put in last year, and it's got double rims. And there's certain days of the week I force us, we got to play outside. That's what we're playing. That's it. You're going to get off at the rebound or you're never going to score. It's that simple. But kids don't, they hate it too. Sometimes like, so hot out here. I'm like, man, you guys don't even know. Like there was years that's all you did is just played outside. So that's what I think. And I think he's on to something there because we had to implement some like specific drills for offensive rebounding and tracking the ball. And we realized after day 2 of that, like, wow, these kids really have no clue. They just shot take goes up and they just are like, I guess it's coming this way on a guess without even looking at it. So on to something there.
Yeah, you had to do a drill because they don't get it in their development. That was something that was part of our DNA. Pickup, you had to go get the ball, and you might not even get a chance to shoot if you didn't get the rebound yourself. And that's so we kind of were raised with that kind of pickup mentality. Now they can practice it. You can do drills to encourage them to get offensive rebound. So, all right. Well, let's go on to the basketball, to the tournaments. Sherman's in the 6B with Patriot, definite favorite. Coach Carlos with Hayfield, Coach Houston with West Potomac, and Coach Craig with Woodson are in the Occoquan, which is 6C. I got that right, Coach? Yeah. So anyway, I don't think there's been that many surprises this year. I think we talked at the beginning of the year who's going to be good. And, I think Wakefield might have been a bit of a surprise because we probably hadn't seen Carlton Young and the other big guy that they had. But Madison has emerged as a contender. But I don't think there's been a whole lot of surprises. I think Forest Park probably. I think Sherman wrote the season's over.
That's what I was going to say.
That's a pretty big surprise.
That's a big surprise. Well, let's start there.
We start there.
Shout out the court, Coach Court.
Right. I told Coach today. Yeah.
And I think people were surprised McLean's as good as they are.
Yeah.
I think that's a team that kind of a lot of people wouldn't have thought before the season. I mean, I was told by a couple people in that district that they thought they were going to be pretty good, but I don't think that's a team because historically you wouldn't think of McLean as, and they're pretty good.
I think they had one starter back from last year because the one kid was hurt all year.
Yeah. But Forest Park was in the state tournament last year and had pretty much most of their lineup, if not everybody, back this year. So there's certainly, I know Sherman and them are in their region, and that's their region. So that's a significant, I think, subtraction from the postseason.
Yeah, Sherman, was that meaningful to you? I mean,
it's meaningful for the fact that that was a team that you had your eye on at the beginning of the year and thinking that they're possibly going to be there at this point. 2 weeks ago we're talking about them being on our side of the bracket because it was looking like Potomac was going to finish 1. So we were thinking they were going to be 2 or 3. We weren't thinking they were going to be out of it. And no disrespect to to Freedom and to Woodbridge, but that district was kind of all over the place all year. But they lost 5 of their last 6. So, and then this last game, their leading scorer wasn't there. He went out of town. I think it was, I don't know exactly why. I heard it had been a family emergency or something. Or maybe somebody was sick. I'm not sure. I don't know the reason. But he was not there. And, their team was very reliant on his shot taking and making because that's how they had played all year. And, it wasn't like you're taking, well, he's averaging about 15. He was shooting the ball 20 plus times probably every game. So to not have that in the lineup, start the year, their point guard from the previous season goes down with a knee injury, so you didn't have him for the whole season. It's unfortunate for Mac because he works and does a good job, but they were not playing well the last month and some change of the season. And it just, you know, is one of those things that I was at the game when they lost to Freedom in the district semifinal. And they were up 14 in the fourth quarter, I want to say. And that was with the big kid bench in foul trouble.
Could
That's
be
where that point
indication,
guard
Coach.
comes in at.
What's that, Coach?
I said that's where that point guard comes in at.
Exactly.
Not having him in the playoffs hurt.
And the thing about it is they're playing the leading scorer DK at the point, which, yeah, he can handle the ball, but there's a lot of possessions where he's bringing the ball up and he's shooting it and nobody else touching it. And so that's, when you think about the amount of time that's going off the clock in those possessions, where it's like, all right, I'm bringing it up, I'm going to attack my guy right away to see if I can get a basket. So, I don't know.
So why don't all 4 teams in your semifinals make it? That's what I didn't understand. How they
Because they
lost
have a
in
third.
semifinals.
They have a third
Why
district,
they
right,
have-
Sherman?
Why'd
Right.
they have
Yeah,
to
we have 3 districts.
Mm.
So we get 3 from our district, 3 from the Cardinal, and then 2 from the Commonwealth.
Oh, okay.
Right,
So 1,
because
2,
we
and
got-
3 only make it. Okay.
Right. So you got like you
Who
got
was your 3? Who was your 3?
us, obviously, Gainesville and Freedom South Riding.
Ah, okay.
Freedom South
Freedom
Riding.
South Riding beat Battlefield, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Coach Sherman, do you think at all this could be an indication that your district, the region is tougher than you thought? The fact that Forest Park is out, could it mean the district is that side of the Prince William County is tough? Or, I mean, I know you.
I wouldn't use the word tough. And I don't want to be giving people bulletin board material. I think it was a good amount of teams that weren't necessarily great that were playing against each other.
Yeah.
You know, it just, I just, you don't necessarily see in most districts.
Hey, I love Sherm, yo.
I mean, I'm just sorry, but I have a hard time grasping a 1-win team in your district playing you within single digits in a game. Maybe it's like, well, everybody's so good, but that can't be. And I know Jason John does a great job of coaching his guys up, but the metrics are the metrics. Like 1 win, that's not supposed to be like, man, we might lose this game today as the number 1 or 2 team in our district playing against this team. We're supposed to win by 20. Yeah. You know, and there was, like I said, Forest Park lost 5 of the last 6. One of those games was to Hilton, who came in second to last, who also had a close game with Potomac at some point in time. So I don't understand it. The district didn't make much sense. I'm not going to look at it and say, man, it must be a lot tougher than it is, because I've actually seen it, and me seeing it in person and on the network didn't make me think like, man, it's so many tough teams over there. It's very scary. At no point in time did I ever think that. So,
yeah. Well, let's go to the Patriot a little bit, guys. Now, you know, it was a 5-horse race most of the year. I think it was clear that Lake Bragg, Robinson, and West Springfield were a notch below the other 5. South County seemed like they were very solid, not an easy beat. Woodson was tough all year. Alexandria City didn't blow anybody out, but they're in every game. You know, great guard play. West Potomac, very talented and very, very tough. Who am I leaving out, guy? Fairfax won the district. You know, as the regional starts on the other side, we, you know, Carlos and Hayfield has had a, you know, really great second half of the season to get to where they are, and some very nice results. Edison's been up and down all year, and you know, Edison comes to play, they're very tough, but who knows? Jefferson, as we know, is always going to be a tough out. So what do you guys think about the Occoquan region when you look at the Patriot and the National?
Wait, don't these dudes play each other in a couple days?
Hey,
Hayfield is awesome.
I'll speak so they don't gotta
It's
speak.
the best team I've ever seen.
Maybe we'll have to have
Hey,
maybe we'll have to have Coach Sherman talk on this one, since he's the third party over here. So.
Hey, so I'll say this. First, shout out to Mark and Thomas Jefferson for I saw that this is their first regional win since 1990.
Oh, is that right?
So shout out to them. And they won by what, almost 20 points or something like that. So they beat West Springfield by 20. I don't know who they got next. They got Alexandria, maybe.
They got Alexandria City.
Yeah, Alexandria City with Darius Bivens might be hurt, might not be able to play. They might be able to sneak that one out, and if so, that would be a great victory for that program. So shout out to Mark and his whole TJ team, man. They've been playing pretty well all season, and for them to get a victory for the first time since 1990, that's a big deal. But I think overall, man. Oh, also, man, Mount Vernon. Hey, I talked about the national district, but Mount Vernon gave South County a run for their money.
Yes, they
over
did.
at Westboro the other day. It was a close game, and they South County ended up pulling out the end, but it was a very good game, and Mount Vernon did a good job of making things difficult for those guys. So
I was not a fan of that game being at our school.
I'm sure you wasn't, yo.
Hard to watch.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to all the games. There's three national district teams. I talked about TJ, then you got Edison, and then ourselves, and then there's 3 Patriot district teams. So I like that it's 3-3 right now, going into this round, and hopefully we can national district can win a couple more games. We'll see.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. I know Coach Craig, Coach Johnson, you guys are being quiet because you guys got some big games this week. But what do you guys think?
House to win my 40.
What's that?
Well, 5. I think it's 5. It's 5 of us, right? It's eight of us left. So I think it's five Patriot teams left.
Dang.
It's all good. I mean, I think it's just going to be tough. I mean, we have a tough road on Tuesday on the road at Edison, I think our Patriot as always has just always been really competitive, especially those top teams in the league been really competitive. So I like how I like how my guys are playing, and I think there's going to be some really tough matchups. I think the injury over Alexandria City could be significant with regards of how they play, in the same sense of how the kid from Forest Park was gone, and they utilize him a lot, and so not having, I know you talked about the point guard not being there, but they played without him all year, so they figured out how to win and play without him all year. But now when you get to the playoffs and you've got a guy that you have that is gone all of a sudden, it's certainly hard to do. So, hopefully all the games, these on Tuesday is going to be, I'm sure everybody's going to be watching as soon as they get out of their game to see what the scores are. I think it should be really competitive.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable matchups. It's last year, with the strength of Hayfield, it was we definitely had a favorite. But I think it would be really hard to label someone a clear favorite. I think anything can happen, and every game is going to be meaningful. Do you want to move on to Northern Region, guys, or anything more on Occoquan?
I mean, I say Noah gave Annandale 29, so I'm looking forward to see what happens with that. That's going to be a good matchup with they probably match up versus each other, Andy and Noah. That might be a good.
Who's Noah? Hey, Coach Carlos, who's Noah?
Noah Lumbago
No.
play for us. Yeah, he had 29 against Annandale.
Oh, is that right? He's the stocky kid.
Yeah. He I think he was God, what was he? He was 7 for 8 from 2. He was 4 for 5 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the free throw line or something like that. It was he really had a good night. He's been playing well for us. Yeah, I think in all seriousness, once you get to the regional quarterfinals, like there's no bad teams left playing. Every game is tough. All these teams are quality teams. I think especially in our region, I can't speak to some of the other regions, but I know in our region, you get to this round, these teams are good. Hayfield's a very good team, obviously. I think Edison's improved tremendously. We played them early in the year. I saw them play against Coach Poindexter the other night. They look like have kind of found themselves a little bit. Jefferson and Mark Ray Mendez does one of the best jobs in the area. I mean, he gets those kids 5 senior starters over there. So that anytime you have 5 senior starters, that team's probably going to be pretty buttoned up. And then on our side, Coach Hobson's team is very, very good. AC, obviously the unknown with Bivens not being in there, obviously that impacts them. But they still got arguably the best player in our region. we're going for them, who hung us for almost 30 in the district semifinals. And, Coach Barbie's got Fairfax playing well again, 5 senior starters, physical, play good defense, kind of get the game at their pace. They're a good team. South County's good. I think they've improved a lot throughout the year. So should be four really good games. It'll be interesting to see. I think all 4 of them could go either way. I mean, they're all good, tough, competitive games. I think it'll be interesting to see how they go.
Hey, Coach Craig, I've seen Fairfax play. I watched you guys play Fairfax online this year. I don't understand their results. Fairfax, some days they go out and they'll get beat by 20 points, but the next time
Yeah.
they'll be a great team by 20 points. What is it about their team where it's hard to predict how they're going to play?
I think that'd probably be a better coach question for Coach Barbie. I don't know how Coach House feels. I think one of the things with Fairfax and us, I think, is that we're not the 2 teams that score the most points. We're not the best offensive teams in our district. I think when you're kind of a lower scoring team, you can have a result if you don't have a good shooting night where you can kind of look bad. And I think I watched the game with West Potomac and Fairfax at West Potomac, and Coach House's team, I mean, they just came out and made a lot of shots. And I think if Fairfax, if you make a lot of shots against them, they just don't score the ball easily. So sometimes it can get a little overwhelmed. We're kind of that way too. So it'll be, I just think that's the variance. But again, they're high school kids. If you have 1 or 2 good kids and one of them's a little sick and doesn't have a good night, and it can kind of get away from you in our district sometimes, especially. I think in the Patriot, because you're just playing such tough games night after night after night, you're bound to have one that you can just kind of like, you just almost like don't even look at the film of it, just kind of shoot it into the sun and move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't quite think that Fairfax is like you're quite saying, like they're not going out there getting beat by 20s and stuff like that. I mean, we put it on them that night, but that wasn't a regular for them.
McLean beat them by 26, Coach.
But that was in like the first week of December, maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe the second week of December. And then
that was a 1-point game going to the 4th quarter too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
It was
and
in
you
the
look
tournament
at
final.
every other game they had. I mean, it was a 7-point game and an 8-point game, a 9-point game, and they're winning some games by lunch. So, but like Doug said, their scores are pretty low. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a challenge. I wish we could address the issue with the tournaments and how teams, every district is doing a different format for the tournament.
Let's go through Northern region, and then we'll get back to the format. Is that okay? Yeah. Let's just get so let's go quickly to the Northern region. Then you guys play there. I think Coach Sherman will play the winner out of the runner-up if you win the region. Coach Sherman's Patriot team will play the runner-up, I believe, right, Coach?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it matches up.
Yeah.
We got to worry about our region first, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but the South Lakes is definitely right. Coach Desmond's right of the ship. They've had a tremendous last month. They're playing really well going into postseason. I'm not sure if the big guy is 100% back yet, but they're still hitting on all cylinders. What's the guy? Rochester. I'm not sure if he's 100% yet, but besides that, they're playing really well. Now, Madison has emerged, and they've been playing well. The kid that plays football for them, the split end, I like him as a basketball player. I can't think of his name, but I like this kid. He's a garbage player.
Isn't Darren Nicely?
That's it. I like this kid. He reminds me of the kind of kid that played back when I used to play. Just all over the place. He rebounds offensively. Just a really scrappy player. But anyway, Coach Roller has those guys going in the right direction. In the Liberty District, Wakefield had a pretty solid season. They led from start to finish. Yorktown beat them big the last week of the season. Maybe they were looking ahead into the postseason. McLean started off the season great. They haven't been as solid the last month or so, even though they're tall. They shoot the ball pretty well. They're dangerous. So that's how I see it. I think it's probably those 4 teams are the favorites. But I would not count off Westfield to sneak into the final 4.
Isn't Wakefield over there?
Marshall and Wakefield.
Isn't Wakefield?
Well, Wakefield is definitely, Wakefield to me is definitely the favorite. But anyway, how do you guys see
What's
the
the
Northern.
do you happen to know the matchups for this first week?
I know Yorktown's at South Lakes, McLean's at Madison,
Mm.
Westfield is at
Wakefield.
Wakefield, and
Chantilly at
who else?
Marshall.
Yeah,
Chantilly at Marshall.
Marshall and Chantilly, which is not going to be an easy game for Marshall. So I think other than South Lakes and probably Wakefield, I think that Westfield can play with Wakefield. So I think other than the South Lakes game, I think all these three games are not going to be easy games.
Yeah. I
Westfield.
like that McLean Madison matchup.
That's a good matchup. That's a
I tell you,
50-50 to me.
Westfield's one of those teams that seems to have a lot of variance in their games. Like they seem like they had some really good games and some really games where you're like, man, they lost by like 40. Like what happened there? You're like, they seem to be one of those teams that's kind of
Yeah.
has some ups and downs.
Yeah, they shoot the ball outside a lot, and they're good shooters. But I think if they don't shoot well, maybe it's tougher. And they have some size. My understanding is most of their players are sophomores and juniors, so they may be a year away from the consistency that you need, and you just pointed out. But I would not be happy to. I wouldn't be happy to face them. What's that, Coach?
None.
Sorry, I was talking to my child.
Okay, yeah. Anyone else want to jump in here on the northern region?
I mean, South, like you said, like everybody knows, South Lakes is the favorite over there. Hopefully one of those teams emerge and gives them a good game in the regional championship game. So it's
you got to think that it's going to be competitive with the fact that Tony and them have done so well, but then obviously they had a game with Marshall last week, that they lost and turned back around and get the win on the other side of it. So, I mean, I know the South Lake's going to be a favorite. The same thing like we talk about ours. Like we talk about us being the favorite, but those teams like like a Potomac and ours or somebody like that, it's just like they're good teams. So you never know what could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marshall has very good senior guard play. That's always a dangerous thing come tournament time. If you have senior guards that can control tempo and control the pace of the game, they can be dangerous. Kevin Roller's got Madison, back where they need to be. They're a tough team to play against because they execute their stuff so well. Although that should be a really good game with them and McLean. Two teams that kind of play similarly, both kind of control tempo, both execute their things very well, run a lot of action at you. That should be a really good game. I mean, I think Wakefield can play with South Lakes. I mean, they're pretty good, and they got some size. That South Lakes is a big team, so Wakefield has size, and they certainly have athletes. I wouldn't see why they couldn't.
How would you put it on the floor?
I think Buck's son. The key with South Lakes is you got to be able to handle their guard play. The pressure out front is very tough. The guards are underrated, even though we all know they're good players. Brian Kennedy and Solvita, and I forgot Buck's son's first name. He's a nice guard, very very savvy player. It's going to be and they have a deep team. Wakefield goes like 10 deep. So it's just a matter of whether they're going to be able to handle that pressure. I think the thing about Wakefield is they probably don't face many teams like South. They don't face many teams like South Lakes in the Liberty District. It's not the most athletic district in the world, even though the teams are very solid. So whether they can handle that kind of athleticism and physicality, and then Jordan Scott.
They face each other in practice every day. So they got a lot of athletes, and when you got a lot of athletes and they practice with each other every day, whether or not you got a bunch of people in the league that are a bunch of athletes, you're playing against your athletic teammates way more than you're playing against them anyway. So because he does go so deep at 10 and 11 guys, I mean, I'm sure his practice is pretty competitive. I think that'll be an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
All these coaches on here know about having athletes against each other at practice, except for me, especially Carlos.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hey, but hopefully Coach Carmichael sneaks out a W and gets one over there, man. I like how they've been playing this year, and I'm glad and I'm happy for him and how they've been competing this season. So hopefully he sneaks one out. I'm gonna be rooting for him, even though Jerry's my guy.
That's another team with seniors, right? Like Chantilly's got a lot of seniors. Those teams are McLean, very senior laden. Those teams are dangerous come tournament time because senior laden teams generally don't beat themselves.
Yeah.
You generally have to go out and beat them. They're going to make good decisions a lot of times. So, you know, a lot of times this time of the year, the teams with the seniors are the ones that, you know, play a little bit steadier.
You definitely got to have, you definitely got to have your seniors. Guys, I want to get to the house's discussion about the format, whether it's working this year.
Oh,
But
hey, did we talk about Potomac? It was like, aren't they like 21-2 or something?
But
like
that's
that?
why I said Potomac's a good team. They've only lost 2 games all season, so you know they're a very good
I feel
team.
like we got to make.
Like I
sure we
said,
mention
that's
that.
why everybody keep talking
Yeah.
about us. Like Potomac's on the outside bracket as the one. You know, we can get through our 2 games. You know, Woodbridge well coached team, and whoever wins between Freedom and I want to say Colonial Forge. Potomac ends up being able to host that regional championship game if they get through because they're on the top side of the bracket. So even if we do what we're you know everybody thinks we're going to do, that's a hostile environment to have to go to on a Saturday night and have to see if you come out with a win from a team that only lost 2 games all season. You
Yeah,
know, I don't know how many teams have won 20 games that we know of right now.
Well,
Right.
we played them earlier this year, back in January at Coach Marshall's MLK Day event. They're a very good team. That point guard is really good. The Kenny DeGuzman kid, he's really, really good. He's very crafty. He's like shot maker, can do a lot of stuff. And then they got a lot of like big athletic guys around him. TJ Bethea is a really nice player. I mean, they're a good team. Like I could see why Sherm is like, yeah, that's going to be because they're very good. Like they're, you know, it's just, and plus that's a program that's used to winning, right? Like they're used to being there in those big games.
And Ant Mill's a really good coach on top of that. They got good staff, so they're going to be prepared. You know, and I think that, like you say, you talk about DeGuzman. I think he's playing, even though his points are still in much. I think he's playing a lot better this year than he was last year.
I agree. He's making the right reads at the right
making the
time.
right reads. He's just shooting the ball at a high clip, and they got good young, you know, core of kids that come in and help him. Like you said, some athletic kids and some sophomores that play a lot. I mean, I saw them play tonight. They had a freshman out there getting minutes at one point. Well, 6'2" kids. So, you know, there's nothing that's given for sure.
Hey, Coach, did you see on Twitter they have a 6'6" guy who's transferred from Bishop Ireton who's going to play this week to Potomac? Did you hear about that? They got
I wouldn't be shocked. So everybody else seems to be able to do that but me, right?
What was the kid's name again, Coach? Because I went down there and watched you guys play them 2 years ago. 3 years ago?
Is Jaden Harris.
That was a great basketball game.
Listen, what's called Freedom got one. So don't, like I said, it happens over there all the time. Kid came from Bishop Ireton. He's playing there, 6'6".
Is that right?
Cam Prosper got there about a few weeks ago. Must be nice.
That's crazy.
No, I heard a shirt. You got a pretty good transfer this year too.
Hey, listen, I ain't complaining. Let me just say that, you know, but they didn't show up right before the playoffs start. That's a completely different animal.
I do believe you should probably have to play the playoffs with the players that you start the season with, but because what it does is it messes up the seedings in the tournament. Of all of a sudden you're a 4 seed because you weren't incredible all season, and you show up with Jaden Harris.
Y'all excuse the noise.
Can't do that because you bring.
My son is doing the dribble up thing.
Oh.
He got dad as a present, and I'm not going to discourage him from working on his ball handling.
It's next generation. But yeah, but you know, when a Jaden Harris shows up, it does change everything in the postseason. It messes all the seedings up. But well, look, guys, I'm glad we gave Potomac their due. You know, definitely a great program as Sherman knows. What about players that emerge? We talked about Kenny DeGuzman, not really a surprise. Coach Sherman's players, we know them. They've been around all year. Coach Carlos, I think the McFarland brothers and Phoenix has emerged. Coach Craig, your point guard had a big game a few weeks ago. Your big guys have had solid seasons. Noah had a breakout game. Coach Howson, your point guard, I read about him in the paper. I forgot his name, Coach.
Chris Morrison.
You know, talent-wise. How about other breakthrough players this year, you guys, that have come on and really emerged and put themselves in the spotlight?
What's the other kid at Westboro? The 6'5" athletic kid. I mean, no, like I feel like he's the key to West Coast team. Justin, I think his name's Justin. I feel like he's the key. Even though Chris Morrison is a phenomenal guard and he's probably one of the top 20, 26 guards in his area, I feel like the kid Justin is a big piece to what Houston and them do over there.
Yeah.
And I don't think we talked about him yet.
Yeah.
Justin, yeah, he's sophomore, 6'4". I thought he was a defensive player of the year in our conference. He was not the top vote getter. He guarded 1 through 5 and he guards point guards 80, 90 feet. Yeah, I think he's emerged big time as a player in the league. We played up against some, he battled the Donovan brothers, who are, significantly bigger. I really like his progression. He played JV last year, and I think he's coming along really well this year. I think there's been a bunch of kids that have come along. I mean, you said Doug's freshman kid has come along really well, but I thought even Bivens over at Alexandria City played well. So I don't know if he was a last minute type guy, but I think my guy was somebody that people didn't really talk about a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin Edwards over at West. We got to give him his full due there. He's a really good player. I think a kid who in our district who I thought really had a good year and got a lot better as the year went on. He's been kind of on the radar for a couple of years now, but at South County, Elijah Eccleston, really, I thought towards the end of the year, really started shooting the ball well and scoring the ball a little bit more. They kind of asked him to do some of the ball handling and still score and still guard. I think he's a really good player. He's a junior, I think. Really nice player. Got better as the year went on. I think a guy that I thought I knew was pretty good going into the season, but I think it really opened up some eyes here. Cam Love over at Fairfax has had a really good year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's their leading scorer. I think he's a tough matchup. Football kid too. Kind of a physical scoring post player, but he kind of steps out and shoots it a little bit, but plays bigger maybe than his height. He's a really good player too. I think he got first team all district, if I'm not correct. That's right, Coach Hasley? First team all district for him as well. And I think
I just want to say, I brought him up last podcast. I brought him up.
Yeah, everybody knew about Ronnie Peters, but Cam's had a really good year too. He's a really good player. So some of the guys in our league, and there's just a lot of good players in our league. I think talent's kind of spread out. Jamal Miles at South County's had a really good year too. It's another kid who's been like a 3-year starter for them, but it's kind of like his first run as being the guy. I think he's had a good year as well.
Yeah. Great, Coach. Thanks.
Yeah.
Coach, what's your first?
I agree with the EJ thing too. He played football, so it took him a while to get his legs up underneath him, and he's been playing good ball lately. I say for our side, everybody knows him already, but the point guard from Edison, Pops, Saunders, he played well versus us in the championship game, and he's going to be a key to if they go on a run, it's going to be because he's been able to put up 15 to 20 points to help them succeed, to go along with Teddy. So him, and then you got we talked about the big kid from TJ already. He was the defensive player of the year.
Oh, Sahil, yeah.
And if TJ's going to win, it's going to be because of him and number 22. I can never remember number 22 name, but
Santi Criado. He's really good player too.
Criado.
Yeah, he's a really solid player.
So those two guys is going to help propel TJ to a victory if they get it. So that's who's left over on our side.
I give him a shout out because we just played him on Saturday. But the J.R. Nelson kid at Annandale is a really good player. I didn't realize he had all those playmaking chops. I knew he could score a little bit, but I didn't know he could 6'5", and he can really pass the ball. He's a tough guard. He's a tough matchup for us Saturday. I was not prepared for how good of a playmaker he was.
He's good.
Yes.
That's all. As far as our region, my district. Nobody else is in. I don't want to talk about nobody that's not in no more.
Yeah, that's right. Someone's had a pretty good season is South Lakes as a kid. He used to come off the bench, but he's been starting. He's a football player. I think his name is Tyler. What's his name? White kid. Underrated guy, comes in and can really nail it. I think he's earned a starting
position. This is number 3 or number 4?
Yeah, 2 of them.
Yeah.
3.
3 is the shooter. 4 is the do it all person.
4 is the more physical kid.
Yeah, I think it's number 3. Tyler, God, I'm blanking on his name. I mean, the other guys we know because most of those kids had a role last year. Impact. This kid was. I don't think he played. I think he played JV last year, but I know he was a all district.
Is it Tyler
Nah,
Andre?
Yeah,
hey,
Tyler
Hey,
Andre.
Tyler was on varsity last year.
Oh, he was a varsity.
So
Okay.
Tyler's a kid that he came from Westfield. And you talking about somebody that comes in, he's real gritty. He talks a lot of smack. And if you talk to him, it's going to get him going. So like, don't say nothing to him because if you say something to him, he's not wired right. And
This is
take
all
him to
the fact that we can't get these kids' names is all because Coach Desmond didn't show up tonight because he's too busy polishing his bald head. I have to get that in because he always tells me to shave mine.
Yeah, that's right.
But but Tyler, man, he does a great job. Me and him got into it the day that we played, but I love that kid, man. He goes hard for them, man, and he's a big reason why they're successful. And he doesn't get a lot of credit for what he does.
Yeah, Coach Sherman, I know that Cedar Run was down this year a little bit, but any kids emerge because you had a lot of seniors graduate from Battlefield and many of the other schools. Did any kids emerge this year that have some potential for the future?
Absolutely. I thought that, I know there are a couple of them are seniors, but one of them is a junior for them, and obviously they were able to finish second in our league. But I thought that the Noah Arterberry kid for Gainesville had a better year than I expected him to have. Point guard, they got number 1. I know everybody kind of expected the Moody kid to do what he did, but I think his ascension and then the kid Preston White, the big that they got, he made some strides this year that also has helped him in some games where he's had some big games and some double doubles.
I called him out last podcast. I called him out.
Oh, you
Preston
did?
White.
Yeah, you did.
My God.
Yeah, you did.
He did. Freedom South Riding, who I had talked about in the beginning, who I was just like, I think they're going to end up doing a good job, and here they are in the regional playoffs. They got a shooter. I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but their shooter, I mean, he's probably the best shooter in our district. And then they got a kind of a do-it-all, kind of 6'5", kind of post guy that has a lot of versatility to him as well. So, those two in particular from our side, I'm really trying to think of guys that kind of stick out to me from the other team that were surprises, not so much, but you can look over on the other side and talk about the kids at Potomac, the young kids that they got. I don't know names, but I know where's 12, the other one's 14, kind of the bigger, longer, lankier kids that they have. I know Woodbridge has some young kids that are pretty good. They got a point guard. I think that is, watching
Casey?
on film that I've been impressed with. What'd you say?
Casey.
Yeah, light-skinned kid.
Yeah, lefty. That's the kid. I like him. I think he did the game winner.
Right, and so, I just, they got some young kids that can play a little bit, and I'm not always big on knowing everybody's name, so don't hold me against that. I usually know numbers, but it's there's some talent there for sure. I know the league was down for us in the Cedar Run, but there's still some guys that can play. But it was really senior heavy, especially our all district team. You could see that. So,
well, Sherman, Coach Sherman, me and Dwight got in a little argument about all district teams. He wanted to have an all defensive team, and I know some of the districts have all defensive team and stuff. I'm a big believer that you shouldn't have too many all-star teams, too many players, because what happens is if you leave people out, then it's almost offensive if you have 45 people on the top 3 all league teams, and then if you don't make it, what does that mean for you? And I know that all defensive can be very subjective. It could, to me it could be very political. What do you guys feel? Do you guys think, when I played, you had 5 players on first team, all district, all region, 5 on second team, and that's it. So you might have 15 players total. Now, we have 8 players on first team, all district, I think typical, and maybe more. What is your guys' point of view as to how many postseason awards we should give to players?
So I say, like, as far as because it's 8. Like everybody has to have 8 because that's the state mandate.
State
That's the
mandate.
reason why. That's the reason why it's like that. So you got to play a year plus 7, and then they just keep it all throughout. So you get 8 first team, 8 second team, and then if you have 8 honorable mention, 8 honorable mention, and then I think at least on our district, it's only 5. I think it's only 5 members on the defensive team. But yeah, as far as the all district teams, I mean, I just think it just goes according to what the state says.
Well,
I don't
that's
think people are
not
doing
quite because the girls in your district, for instance, they do a rookie team.
a rookie team. They did do a
Yeah,
rookie
they got a
team.
whole rookie team.
Yeah.
We've never. I mean, I've been in the room 20 years for the district meeting, and we never ever once talked about the rookie team ever. I never heard that ever come up.
Hey, this year was
So
the first time I even heard about that. Was this year
I
that
haven't
they
heard
had
of
an
it.
all rookie team.
I
But
think
I mean, all
that's
But
these.
yeah, but as far as like the stuff that goes up to the state, yeah,
Yeah.
and you
Is it
got
good?
that.
Is this proliferation? Is it good? To me, it's a team sport. It comes down to wins and losses. I like to reduce the number of postseason awards because I think it could be offensive if you don't make anything. But do you think this is good that we have all rookie, all defense?
I think all defense is good. I don't think there's any problem with that. It's not something that we necessarily do down this end. I think we only picked a defensive player of the year, and the last time we did was 2019. And that's because we used to be in the same region with everybody up there.
Yeah.
But I am in agreement that we don't need as many awards, and by awards I mean even the fact that we put 8 on each team I think is too much. Our district this year took away honorable mention, and our district coaches, it's hard enough for them to pick the people that are supposed to be on first and second team. Last thing I want them to have to do is have to pick extra things, and then taking away the honorable mention helped because now kids that shouldn't have been nominated in the first place had got crossed off the list. It just, I see both sides of it. Just having more things to vote on just means now I got to listen to more reasons why you don't know what you're talking about. It's just like I said, it's rough because every year I come out of that district meeting being like, I can't believe this is what they think should happen. And I just can't imagine trying to get people I don't think really teach defense the way it should to be picking an all defensive team.
Any more comments, guys? You guys like all defensive? Coach Craig, Coach.
I don't have any problem with it. I think too. I can't imagine the Cedar Run. Coach Rivers, you guys have are there 5 teams or 6 teams in your district? It's 5 or 6.
It's 7.
It might be 7. I think it's 7.
Yeah, it's 7. It's 7. Used to be 8 with John Champ, and they're out of it.
Oh, okay. I mean, some of the districts like the Concord, they only have 6 teams in the district, and they got 8 guys on first team. I mean, meanwhile, you got some districts with 8, and then I think some of the lower class because there's even like 9, 10 team districts, and they got 8. Like, I don't know. This mandate that it should be 8. I don't know. I don't know. Basketball's played with 5. I don't know. 8. I mean, I'm not complaining about the kid gets first team all district. It's obviously a thrill for them to get first team all district, but I mean, it is probably too many awards. I think the state mandating, that the districts, all district teams have to look the same. The regions mandating that the regional tournaments brackets for every sport has to be the same. I don't know. It just seems like there's a one size fit all kind of mentality
true.
right now.
That is true.
To me, it's kind of like AAU. When I played, it was so hard to make an all district team that if you didn't make it, it wasn't a big offense because, if I look at the all district team my senior year, it was Tommy Amaker, it was Glenn Williams, Hall of Fame at Holy Cross, Tyrone Shaw, all league at Big East, West Virginia. I don't think it was Big East. I mean, the players were unbelievable. And the second team was my teammate Jeff Bowling, played at Air Force. It was so hard to make it that there was no, it wasn't a slap in the face not to make it. But now, I remember when my son played soccer, it's even bigger than 8. He had like 15 on the first team. And I remember only one starter from his team didn't make all district. So of 11 players, only one starter didn't make all district. It just seems, and I felt bad. I felt bad for that kid because he's a good player. And I don't think that would have happened if you only had 2 or 3 players make the all district team, and it was a true all-star team. But I got to watch myself because when I complain about these things, it makes me sound old. Like I'm harkening back to a different generation.
No,
Yeah,
and
listen, like I said,
My
man,
man Steve be saying it all the time. Steve
the all
Miles.
district stuff is always interesting. I think we do have too many players on each of the teams. But every now and then they get it right. I think 2 years ago when Los obviously was dominating stuff and they voted all his kids first team, was like good for them.
And that was huge.
But it was right. And
How about
it's
this
okay.
year? How about this year, Coach Los?
Hey, man.
Right.
I don't want to complain though, man.
No, listen,
but
man,
this
it's
year,
okay. It's
this,
okay.
this
You
year
know
I
what I'm
just felt
saying?
like
And
it
it's
was,
like
it
now
was a disservice to-
everybody understands why I'm so angry.
It's there can be a there. I can say that there can be a fatigue factor when it's the same team year after year after year. People just get frustrated voting for the same team year after year after year, and that does happen sometimes. It's not right, but it does happen.
Yeah. But shout out to everybody that made first team all district. I'll say that.
I think a big problem with at least in our league is we don't play the other team in our region. We don't play each other. We were supposed to have that game where we were all supposed to match up and play.
Man,
I think
don't get me
that would
started on
help.
that.
I think that would certainly help with people recognizing the difference of the talent of the type of players from one league to the other. And I think that everybody knows the rules that you can't make first team all region if you're not first team all district. So then try to get, more. I think there's a lot of politics behind it. But I think the idea that we're not scheduled to play a guaranteed everybody plays. I think that's really unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate.
Yeah. No, that sucks.
It'll come
but
out this week.
I don't think everybody realizes that if you don't make first team, you don't make all region. Like I feel like everybody in my district don't realize that.
Not even if you don't just make it. Sometimes if you don't get a high enough ranking on the first team all district list, you might not be all region. Like at least first team anyway.
Well, now we're only talking to people that understand. Because people that don't understand don't know what you just said. You might as well have been talking some Peyton Manning audible play, because they got to look at the board and see if you're number 6 on the board, you're not going to make it to the region. And people don't understand that. So player of the year is automatically over. So you got 2 out of your 8 automatically over there. And then now you're working 6 more players with what you got 14. 6 out of your next 14 are only going to make first team. So yeah,
can I ask a question since we are talking about this? Can I vote a player for player of the year for the region? Can I vote for that? Can I vote in a player?
We did that a couple years ago because y'all remember, you remember Los when a certain last place team got player of the year in our district.
Yeah.
And we went to the region and the rest of the coaches in our region said, that's absurd. We're not even going to do that. So they end up letting me vote the guy in to be nominated for it. Now he didn't win it, but it was up to him and another guy to get it.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. I mean,
it's up to your coaches though. You know what I'm saying?
Kai's going to win that joint regardless anyway. He's the best player in our region.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I ain't going to fight it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you from the other side of that perspective is I don't get to see a lot of national district games. I mean, we played Edison earlier this year. We played Carlos. So I saw those 2 teams, but I didn't watch a lot of Lewis games or Justice games this year. I just didn't. And you're kind of relying on the national district coaches to come into that regional meeting, giving you a ranking of how they saw it in their district. I have to trust their coaches. I know this, but if you don't get a chance to see these other teams, you're kind of relying on, Carlos's group to come out with a general ranking of kind of how they saw it. And if it doesn't come in like that, and I don't know the kids, I'm going by kind of what they say. So, I may pick the kid that's 5th on the list over the kid that's 6th on the list, because that's what they gave us to the meeting if you just don't see them, it's, we all get kind of wrapped up after, December in our own district. We don't get to see some of these other teams that much.
Yeah. Yeah. All-star teams are so tough for this reason, so many other reasons, because People have to get exposure. The coach has to lobby for them, but not enough where they're being a kind of selfish compared to other coaches, players, and but I guess it doesn't mean a lot to kids. So it is important. So maybe that's why the state wants to do 8. Let's go on to something that House brought up earlier today, is the format of the regional tournament. Now, we understand why Coach Sherman's format's different in the 6B, Prince William and some Stafford, because they have 3 regions. But it just seems like every region is radically different. This year, in Occoquan, where Patriot National is, they did not a losers bracket, but if you lost in the semifinals of the district tournament, you got to play an early round game in the regionals. Last year, everyone qualified for the regional tournament in the Occoquan and National. This year, there was some elimination at the district tournament stage. So it's all different, and I think it can be a little frustrating. But on the other hand, you guys get a chance to make rules that apply to your own district. At least the DSAs do, or whoever makes those rules. Anyway, is it working, guys? Are you happy with the format? Allison, is it working this year, you think, the way they did it?
I don't have an issue with our regional tournament this year. I didn't have an issue with us deciding to have 6 teams from each league go in instead of all 8. My issue was how we all decided that we would determine those 6 that were going to get there. And our league, we had essentially a play-in game. If you were in the bottom 4, you had to play in, and the team that didn't win, they were eliminated. And then the other teams, those 2 teams went on and kind of joined the quarterfinals and semifinals, etc. And then I didn't know it until I think 2 weeks ago that the national, they did the 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5, which then I don't understand how they chose the teams, the extra 2 when 4 teams lost. How did 2 get in without a playback game? So however any district wants to do it, I think it's up to them. But I think when you're within the same region, and it's only 2 schools in the region, or two districts in the region, and they have the same amount of teams. Like, I get it if we had 8 and they had 7, you can't do it the same. And I think in Coach Rivers's, they have 3 conferences, but I don't know if they all have the same number of teams per. I'm not sure if you guys have the same number.
Some of them are different classes.
So then you can't follow that format. But when you have the same,
We don't.
I think it should be the same. I think we should have figured out how to do it the same.
Yeah.
I do like the not all in. I like giving some a lot more credit to your regular season, how you do in the regular season. I think there was some merit to that.
Yeah, I agree. It's 2 things. I mean, I like the same thing. I like how the number 1 seed is protected. So if something crazy does happen, you don't get no lower than a 2 seed. And then I love the fact that it's not all in, because just we all played except for Doug. The rest of us all played here, and getting into the regional tournament was a big thing. And then I feel like they kind of took that away when they made it all in. So the fact that it's not all in no more, that's good. I feel like it's good for everybody.
Yeah. I do think, and here I am again talking like the traditionalist, but in football, there's too many teams that qualify for the playoffs. And what that does is it extends the season so far, and it just disrupts basketball. It takes away from those games. I remember when I was in high school, the Northern District was unbelievable in football. Every game was a playoff game because only 1 team went to regionals, and everybody was great. So it made every district game a playoff game. Every game there was 5,000 people in the stands. I think there's always a concern that we're going to make more money if we let more teams in. I don't think so. I think what happens is you water your brand down when the regular season means less. You're going to have less folks at games in the regular season, and also in the postseason. A lot of the postseason games are meaningless because the best teams aren't involved yet. I do think we need to narrow it down, and to make 2 teams go to regionals from every district, but maximum 4. And also, of course, as you guys know, we only need 3 state titles. We only need 6. So I'm tired of trying to think about whether Woodside and Maury, whether we're as good as those teams. We should play those teams. Obviously, they're good enough to play with the best. But anyway, I really feel like we need to do a better job of making the regular season and then thus the postseason early games mean everything. I think the crowds would really come out for that. But I don't know. Sherman, you were on those. You played at a time when it was very hard for Potomac to make it to regional. You may have to go down to Lynchburg or Danville to even qualify for the next round. Do you think we should?
I've had to go to William Fleming for a regional game and played at Lynchburg College against Danville in a regional championship game. So, those were, serious trips that you had to make just for a regional game. I definitely like the old single A, double A, triple A better. I still don't understand why it was something that basketball had to do. Football I kind of do, but at the same time it's like whatever. But I didn't understand it. Even now, you're talking about, watering down, have more teams. That's why our district, only took 4 teams for the district tournament. We didn't even do an all-in district tournament on both sides for Cardinal or for Cedar Run. And, some of the coaches in our district are like, why don't we do an all-in? And, I said, guys, I'm going to say something that you probably don't want to hear, but I don't know what the purpose would be of us playing the last seed in a district tournament game.
I don't get it.
I said it wouldn't serve a purpose other than embarrassing the kids and prolonging your season one more week. Like, I get it's a tournament sport and you have upsets, but there's like points where you're like, all right, like, what are we doing? And, you have said we talk about the purple guys and them being out, and that's unfortunate, but some of those kids shut it down on the season well before that game came.
Yeah.
So really, and then like you said it, and then I heard the argument that you're kind of discouraging kids from playing multiple sports, and I think that's nonsense. But that, it's just one of those things that our district decided to do that this year. I wasn't upset about it. I wasn't upset that they decided to cut out honorable mention. I hate looking at a list of 20 kids for honorable mention. There aren't that many good kids in every league to have that many kids in honorable mention. So,
yeah. Anybody else want to jump in here? Yeah. Well, guys, yeah. If anyone else wants to come in on that, well, this will be great, guys. I'm sorry we misfired. I appreciate your patience. Always an incredible dialogue. You guys have all again delivered a great product this year, and we're lucky to have you. And I'm excited about this week. It's so many games; it's going to be hard to get to many of them. But thank God for NFHS. I'll catch a lot. So I just think I wish you guys best of luck. Hopefully, we have an injury-free week and we can get the best teams, best players to the finals, and then bring a state championship back to Northern Virginia once again.
Yes, sir.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it too. Gotta see Doug and them on Tuesday. On the girls' side, quick thing on the girls' side, Rudy Cofield, who used to coach at Hayfield, is at South County now, and they play Hayfield. That's gonna be an interesting game to see.
Yeah, a big matchup on the girls' side is Langley's been completely dominant all year long. And then they lost 2 games to McLean late in the year in the districts. And also,
I actually saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
So the game. What was it? What was it? Yeah.
No, I didn't see the game, but I saw that they lost to Langley.
Yeah, and then McLean wasn't that well regarded, I don't believe. But it just goes to show you there is no alpha dog on the girls' side this year. I think Robinson is emerging once again as
I was at the Robinson game. I was at the Robinson game a couple nights ago.
I thought they was really good.
They're very good.
They're very good.
She is
Georgia Simonton. Simonton is
that was the best performance I've seen live in person this year.
Battery might probably be dead. It usually comes on when you open it, right?
It's unbelievable how well Robinson plays defense. The girls. I mean, unbelievable defensive team over the years. And I heard that Chris Jolly told me his concern is they didn't have a lot of scoring this year. I guess they had a woman named Barry, good girl named Barry. That's a good player too. But you know, it's hard to score on Robinson. And if Georgia Silence is getting 25 a game, they're going to be tough to beat. I don't know if they can. The Richmond teams look like the strongest in the girls' side. They got a whole bunch of top players down in Richmond, Manchester, and Thomas Dale, I believe.
I think Osborne Park's girls are playing really well too, and
they are. Yeah,
they're really good too.
No surprise there, Coach Kelly. So, all right, guys.
West Potomac grad. Coach Kelly's a West Potomac grad.
Oh, is she? Yeah, was she a good player herself?
Yeah. She played in college. Yeah.
Okay, where did she play?
She go to Mason?
No, not Mason, but yeah, I don't remember.
I can't remember where she went.
Yeah. I didn't realize the Langley coach played for her. So Coach Amanda Baker played for Coach Kelly at Forest Park. It was Coach Kelly's first job. So she's really become a legend over there, and she won a state title with Monica Wright at Forest Park. When
She won twice.
she won twice, of course. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, she did.
Amanda was her shooting guard. So
Hmm.
she's just an incredible coach. And I interviewed her last week, a couple weeks. I never interviewed her before, and she was great. It's so funny. It's so great to hear these coaches when you get a chance to really pick the brain and to hear what inspires them. And every coach is different. Everyone does it for a different reason. Everyone has different philosophies of what the best way is to move the ball forward. But it's just great to see. So, anyway, guys, I took you way too long. I wasted your whole holiday night, but this has been great. I really appreciate your time and best of luck. I'll definitely see you guys this week.
Appreciate it, man.
For sure. Have a good one.
All right, good luck, fellas.
All right, guys,
See
enjoy
ya.
it.